What's up, guys? It's Cody here with Power Prints, and today I'm going to be showing you how I made this really cool Batman Lives helmet. I'm going to be going through all of the steps of post-processing that I took, from sanding, filling, painting, weathering, every one of them. And if you enjoy this video, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, do the works. I appreciate you guys for being here. Appreciate you for watching this video. Let's get to it. Your first step is printing your model. In this case, all of your models. I went ahead and printed everything so we can post-process it all at the same time. First step would be sanding. This file is 90% textured, so I'm just gonna go hit the teeth and the gums real quick with a 120. I'll let you guys see that process. I used to print everything at a 0.2 layer height, which helped me get the things off the printer faster. Because I got to do with the part that I enjoy, which is the sanding, filling, and painting quicker. Over time, this becomes less fun, sanding. I started trying to find ways that I could mitigate my time sanding. And who would have thought that I could just sacrifice time on the printer and make my time sanding easier? Over time, I've learned the amount of infill, the layer height that I use, the amount of walls I use, and I've got it down to practically a science. I use 0.16 layer height. It's enough to hide lines well enough that I can go over with 160 and those lines are almost gone as it is. I use 4 to 5 walls for structural integrity, and I use 2 to 3% infill on gyroid setting. 4 to 5 walls, 2 to 3% gyroid infill, and this thing is going to be solid. 0.16 layer height for minimal sanding. You can go smaller than that if you want, but you're still going to sand it, so it's either way. So now enjoy me sanding. Teeth and gums are sanded to my satisfaction. Next step, sanding. Now, because of the way I oriented this, it has a lot of artifacts up here and on the bottom as well. So to get rid of the bulk of those layer lines, I'm going to use my orbital sander with 80 grit sandpaper and just give it a good once over, and then we come back in with a filler and then probably do 120. It didn't do a crazy amount of work, which I didn't expect it to. That's okay. That's what filler's for. Today I'm going to be using Bondo glazing and spot putty. This is what it'll look like. I'm not gonna mix this at all. I'm going to just put it on my finger and rub it on these areas that are messy.
Hi, Shopcat.
Couple of things. Don't expect this to work first try. Don't expect it to be completely smooth when you're done after your first go at it. Don't be disappointed when it's not perfect. Second thing, you need to be very careful if you're working with textured prints. I can tell you 100 times, be careful, you're gonna mess it up. I messed it up. I still mess it up. Try not to fill in the spots that are low because it'll mess up your texture. Unfortunately, because there is a seam, I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna try to mitigate as much of the texture being taken away as possible. Once again, I'm gonna be using Bondo spot putty, and I'm gonna work it into that gap. You're gonna see the actual Bondo in some of these low spots like that, but the crack is mostly filled. I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side, and then I'm gonna let this dry, and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna sand it. And I'm gonna repeat the process a couple of times until that is practically gone. I'm not gonna show you how many times it's gonna take me to come back and fill this because you've already seen how I do it. I will, however, tell you how many times it took me to get it filled and adequate and ready for filler primer. We're back. And to answer your question, it took 2 coats. You can still see the crack as of now. However, once I go over this with filler primer, you're not gonna be able to tell that it's there at all. We're gonna hit this with filler primer as well. The tools that I'm gonna be using for this job are a pair of snippers that come with most 3D printers, a deburring tool, I got this one at Hobby Lobby, and a pocket knife. First, I'm gonna go in with the deburring tool, and I'm gonna hit all of the corners that had parts connecting to the build plate. One done. Now that we have that done, I'm going to take probably 320 grit sandpaper and just scuff everything up just to give it, 1 second. That was annoying. I'm just gonna scuff it with 320, 220 grit sandpaper just to give the primer something to adhere to. Now with this being a textured file, you can just dust it on. It's not that big of a deal, but I prefer to go in and actually scuff it up a little bit just to give it that extra, whatever you want to call it. It makes the primer work better. It does the thing good. It's gonna get scuffed with 320 grit sandpaper so that the primer sticks better. Let's fast forward until we're done here. Before I start moving things around, I would like to start by saying this, again, is a textured file. You're not going to lay heavy coats of filler primer on this. The only spot I'm really gonna go heavy on are the teeth and gums because these are not textured. The teeth are gonna get a heavy coat. Everything else is getting dusted. I'm gonna be using a new type of filler primer I've never used before. It's called Seymour. Apparently, this stuff dries and is ready to sand in, I think, 30 minutes, they said. I'm gonna be using this for the first time, so at the end of the day, I'll be telling you my thoughts about this. First impressions of the Seymour PVE filler primer. It's great. It goes on really well, lays really well, and we'll just see if the dry time is actually as good as they say that it is. Oh my God. And we're back. The Seymour the Seymour primer worked really well. I didn't get to check if it was 15 or 30 minutes, but it's been probably 3 hours and it's dry, completely dry. So that's a lot better than what I've been using. It's not readily available, but it's not that expensive online. Now we're on to painting. We're gonna start with the face. I'm not gonna be using anything crazy, just this, whatever brand this is, I can't read it backwards. Just a white paint that I got at Walmart. And I'm not gonna water this down or anything. I'm just gonna stick it in this little bread solo cup and get after it. Probably not gonna hear any of that, so. So this is not going to be perfect. You can tell there's a lot of gray primer still showing through. That's not a big deal. This is the Joker. He's not intended to be pristine. There's nothing clean about this, specifically this Joker, the Batman who laughs. What I intend to do here is I have personality. So the plan here is to go back through with either a dark brown wash. I might do a dark brown wash. I might come in and dry brush some skin tone. I haven't quite decided yet. This will probably be sped up because we're talking. And you don't get to hear it. Okay, so you see, I have this, it's hard to see, but if I put it up here, I can't see. Anyway, the majority of this white is done. It's not perfect, it's not intended to be. It's not a big deal that this isn't pretty, because it's not supposed to be. I'm gonna be using I'm gonna be using Wicked Red by Creatix. I don't know how to pronounce it, apparently. Link in my bio. I've never used this with a brush, so I don't know how well this is gonna turn out. Let's get to it. All right, here's where we're at without any weathering whatsoever. We have the white, the red, the pink, and the creamy, yucky, not even yucky. These teeth aren't even that bad. Now I'm going to actually let this dry. I'm gonna come back out maybe this evening and work on getting that weathered. We're back for day 2. What I'm going to do now is I'm gonna make up some black wash, probably a little bit of brown wash as well. After we get through with the washes and they're good and dry, I'm gonna come in with my airbrush and add a little bit of depth to the gums and the teeth and these dimples from him smiling. What I'm gonna be using is the same brand black that I've been using, or the same brand as the other colors I've been using. Same goes for brown. I usually get the black and the brown and white in larger bottles because I go through them more. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some black and just put a little bit in there, in the bottom of the cup. Do the same thing with the brown. I got a spray bottle here. I'm just gonna, now that I've got those, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my paper towel. I like to spray my piece with water. Now it's all wet. I'm gonna come in with black first and just now I'm just gonna repeat this process until I'm satisfied with the outcome. So we had some technical difficulties while I was filming the airbrushing situation. In other words, my phone fell over. The tripod that my phone's on fell off the table. Here's what we're left with. I'm gonna be using Krylon's metallic dark metal, and then I'm gonna be using Rust-Oleum's satin black, satin Canyon black for the rest. I'm not gonna film the paint process. You saw how I did it earlier. I'm gonna do the exact same thing. For assembly, I'm going to be using Starbond's medium thick CA glue with some accelerator. Pretty straightforward. Let's see if we can change the angle a bit. Now we're just gonna start. All right, top piece is in. Okay, now we're looking pretty good. So here you have it. Let's take it outside and get some good shots of it.